most watched commercial agreement in AI just got rewritten. Microsoft is no longer OpenAI's exclusive cloud. The AGI clause is gone, and OpenAI just got the keys to AWS. We'll cover the rewrite, the Qualcomm smartphone chip rumor that came with it, and Meta signing for solar power beamed down from orbit. Monday, April 27th. Let's begin. OpenAI and Microsoft. The rewrite. Joint statement Monday. Same headline on both blogs. The next phase of the Microsoft-OpenAI partnership, negotiated personally by Sam Altman and Satya Nadella over several weeks. The internal trigger surfaced earlier this month in a memo from Denise Dresser, OpenAI's revenue chief. Quote, "The Azure exclusive arrangement has limited our ability to meet enterprises where they are." End quote. That memo is the line that made this rewrite inevitable. What changed? First, exclusivity is dead. OpenAI can now serve all its products through any cloud provider. Azure, AWS, Google Cloud, sovereign clouds. Microsoft's exclusive resale right is over. Second, the AGI clause is gone. The provision that would have stripped Microsoft's IP rights the moment OpenAI's board declared AGI removed. Microsoft's license to OpenAI's intellectual property now runs through 2032, regardless of how far the technology advances. This is the load-bearing change for any future IPO. Third, the revenue share is capped. OpenAI keeps paying Microsoft the same 20% rate through 2030, but the total dollar amount is now subject to a hard ceiling. Microsoft, in exchange, no longer pays OpenAI a revenue share on the OpenAI products it resells through Azure. Fourth, Microsoft stays primary, but not exclusive. OpenAI products still ship first on Azure, unless Microsoft can't or won't support the required capability. Then, OpenAI is free to ship them anywhere, day one. And fifth, Microsoft is still a major shareholder. Roughly 27% of OpenAI's for-profit arm on an as-converted diluted basis, valued at about $135 billion in October's recap. This is a commercial restructure, not an unwind. The cash flows stayed roughly where they were. The strategic optionality moved entirely to OpenAI. Microsoft reports earnings Wednesday. The first question on the call won't be about Copilot. It'll be about what this rewrite costs them, and what their 27% stake is now worth. And the OpenAI freedom story isn't just about clouds, it's about hardware. Pre-market Monday, analyst Ming-Chi Kuo published a note on X. OpenAI is co-designing a smartphone processor with Qualcomm and MediaTek. Luxshare is the exclusive system co-design and assembly partner. Qualcomm shares jumped 12% pre-market, settled up around 7% at the close. None of the four companies have confirmed. Mass production target, 2028. Specs and suppliers expected to be locked by late 2026. The pitch is an app-free phone, built around real-time AI agent inference. Kuo's framing, quote, "Only by fully controlling both the operating system and the hardware can OpenAI deliver a comprehensive AI agent service," end quote. Important caveat. This is not the Jony Ive I.O. device finally surfacing as a phone. Altman said last year the I.O. device would explicitly not be a smartphone. Foxconn is building that device. Luxshare is now back, separately, for this smartphone program. OpenAI is running parallel hardware tracks, hedging supplier risk, going broad on hardware from day one. Apple is defending Siri. OpenAI is building two different things Siri is supposed to become, and putting them in someone else's hardware. Anthropic. Deepened with AWS today. Claude is now training on AWS Trainium and Graviton, silicon-level co-engineering. Claude Cowork is now generally available in Amazon Bedrock. And a Claude platform on AWS is coming. Side note, Claude.ai had a brief outage around 9:39 Eastern. Back up within the hour. Google. Demis Hassabis was in Seoul today, signed an MOU with South Korea's Science Ministry for Google DeepMind's first AI campus outside the UK. Focus is joint research in life sciences and climate, AI skills development, responsible use work. Korea asked DeepMind to send at least 10 US-based engineers. Hassabis said he'd consider it. Same hotel, the Four Seasons Seoul, where AlphaGo beat Lee Sedol exactly 10 years ago. Hassabis brought a Go board signed by him and Lee Sedol as a gift to President Lee. Meta signed with AWS today as well, committing to tens of millions of Graviton cores to power CPU-intensive agentic workloads, real-time reasoning, code generation, search, multi-step orchestration. Meta reports earnings Wednesday. The first round of layoffs from the Zuckerberg memo starts next month.
Meta is going further than anyone to solve AI's power problem. Today they signed for solar from orbit, capacity reservation agreement with Overview Energy, up to 1 gigawatt of space-based solar power. Overview is a 4-year-old Ashburn, Virginia startup, emerged from stealth in December. The mechanism, geosynchronous satellites, 22,000 miles up, in sunlight roughly 99% of the time. They beam energy down as low-intensity, near-infrared light. Existing ground solar farms convert it to electricity. No new land, no new grid connections. Caveat: the technology doesn't exist at scale yet. First orbital demo, 2028. Commercial delivery, 2030. The eventual goal, 1,000 spacecraft. Meta isn't betting the company. It's buying a cheap option on a wild idea.
Microsoft. We already covered the rewrite. The next read is Wednesday earnings. Last quarter, $37.5 billion in CapEx. Copilot disclosed at 3.3% of the M365 commercial base. Wednesday's open is going to be a referendum on whether the OpenAI rewrite is a hit or a relief, and on what Microsoft's 27% stake is now worth. Nvidia, quiet today. Wall Street one-year price target, $269. Q4 fiscal 2026 data center revenue, $62.31 billion, up 75% year-on-year. Earnings, May 20th. Guide, $78 billion plus or minus 2. China. Bloomberg ran a piece today titled, "Why China's DeepSeek, Qwen, and Moonshot Are a Worry for US AI Rivals." The trigger, DeepSeek V4 Pro's market reaction has been muted. Strong model, ranks among the leading open weights. But it didn't shock the world the way V3 did last year. Kimi and Qwen have closed the gap. The narrative is shifting from one Chinese disruptor to 3, and they're co-evolving on Huawei silicon. Today, the structure of the industry shifted, but not in the way the headlines suggested. OpenAI is no longer Azure's prisoner, but Microsoft is still its biggest shareholder. The cash flows stayed roughly where they were. The strategic optionality moved entirely to OpenAI. Meanwhile, OpenAI is building 2 different phones. DeepMind opened a campus in Seoul on the AlphaGo anniversary, and Meta is reserving solar power from satellites that don't exist yet. Wednesday brings Microsoft, Alphabet, Meta, and Amazon earnings, about 25% of the S&P 500 reporting in one day. We'll see you tomorrow.